He is the founder and CEO of a fantastic tutoring company called MCEC.
So grade 1 to grade 7, I attended a school called Selbourne School before I moved over to St. George's College for my Form 1 to Upper 6. Yeah, then after that, I came to the University of Cape Town, did my mechanical engineering degree, undergrad, and then moved over to finish my master's in chemical engineering. It was this old, battered iPhone 7, and the student would be on the WhatsApp call as a video call. So they would see what's written on the paper. Although it might look like a social club, because we build it like that, it should feel very free and laissez-faire, but it's actually run very structurally within the inside. My sister is always saying to me, you've got no idea how you're literally forming the professional out of a mere student.
How did it actually come about that you learned how to create such a brand like this that's so prestigious?
The branding side of me took years to put. Even when MCC started 4 years ago, I'm still learning to this day. All these years, I actually just spent a lot of time learning about branding. So it's like you're building a ship whilst you're at sea. At the University of Cape Town, we do run some pro bono classes, some free classes that we have.
And so maybe if you could allude to your biggest mistake, if there was one.
The biggest mistake that I can actually say is, and I'd put my hand up and really own this and say,
Fantastic. Welcome, everyone. We are blessed to be here with Tamuka Keche today. He is the founder and CEO of a fantastic tutoring company called MCEC, Melania Educational Consultants. And we're just so happy to have him. And would you mind just introducing yourself, Tamuka, to let the viewers know who you are?
Thank you so much, Tyler. So my name is, like you said, Tamuka Keche. I am the founder and CEO of Melania Educational Consultants. It's a small business. I do refer to it as a small business that started essentially being a business in 2021. But to introduce myself a bit better, grade 1 to grade 7, let me talk about my academic journey. So grade 1 to grade 7, I attended a school called Selbourne Routledge School before I moved over to St. George's College for my Form 1 to Upper 6. Where in my final year at St. George's College, I was a prefect. I was a college prefect. And that's when my leadership journey really started to form. I was the head boy of my primary school. That's actually a very interesting story about that, where all the teachers really didn't want me to be head boy. But I was this very short. I'm still short, but I was shorter than I am now. But I was leading the whole grade of grade 7s quite well, because I could speak quite a lot. And then at St. George's, I really became a prefect, and I was one of those prefects that I think I really wanted to look after, or to really be very compassionate to the students that I was leading. So I had a Form 1 class, which is essentially grade 8 to the South African viewers. And then after that, I came to the University of Cape Town, did my mechanical engineering degree, undergrad, and then moved over to finish my master's in chemical engineering. That's another story. But between St. George's College and UCT, I actually took a gap year just so that my family could organize the finances, and also for me to really figure out what I really wanted to do in life. And during that time, I actually got a job at Hartman House, which is the junior school of St. George's College, where we both went for high school. And during this time, I really discovered my passion for education, to be an educator, right? Not necessarily a teacher or a tutor or a junior master, but just to be an educator, just to be the vessel that actually brings good information or information to the younger generation. Mm-hmm. Because many a time people sit down and they complain about how the current crop of students or the younger generation don't actually understand where they're going or what they're doing. But then I'm like, we never really make an effort to help and improve that. So essentially, that in me was really sparked when I was working at Hartman House as a junior master. I worked there for 3 months. It was actually a very short stint, 3 months. But then every holiday from UCT, I'll go back there and work for a month. So I really got to create very good bonds with students from that place, who are now, many of them are actually in university now, which is quite interesting, yeah.
So you've seen their whole development cycle and been a part of that every step of the way, I guess.
Yes. Well, I've seen the whole development part, maybe being a part of every step, maybe not, because sometimes, you meet students, you work with them for maybe 2-3 years, and then, they fly away, which is ultimately what we really want, what I really want. Like, I don't want them to be fully dependent on the mentoring or like their relationship with me, but I actually want to see them flying in the real world, like being who they can be and being the best version of themselves out there. Yeah, but it's like you said, it's very interesting, and it's something that I cherish and I really like, and I'm blessed to have that in my life. Yeah,
100%, and I think it's something very noble and awesome to see you do. And I know you've mentored me in certain aspects of my life, especially in my uni career where we met and everything like that. And I know it's a privilege for me, so I'm sure all those other people appreciate it. So yeah, keep it going. Hey, keep it going.
Thank you. I really do try to keep everything running up. Yeah,
100%. But tell us more about MCEC now. Wherever you want to go with it, just let us know. Like, what is it exactly?
All right. So MCEC, basically Melania Calvin Educational Consultants, is an online tutoring and mentoring platform. So funny enough, it's something that we really can't market as viciously as we can market the tutoring side of things, but we're actually more heavy on the mentoring because, I mean, there are so many tutors in the world. I mean, even if you look at like the South African market or even the Zimbabwe market, you've got tutors, you've got extra lessons teachers, you've got extra lesson homes and, colleges that can actually take you in. But all those places, they don't do what we do. They don't have the strong base of mentoring. And I really got this base, like I was explaining, from when I was head boy at the primary school, prefect at St. George's, and a junior master at Hartford House, and also a tutor at UCT. That really made me understand that it's not just about the academic side of things, but it's also the person that we're trying to get ready for academics. So MCEC basically started off as a hobby, started off as a passion. One day, a student who was in Form 3 when I was in Upper 6, when I was a prefect, called me and is like, Tamuka, I need you to teach me. And I was like, I'm not a teacher. He's like, but you've got a photographic memory. I'm like, is this a prank? And he's like, no, I'm being serious. I was like, okay, if you're serious, come to my home on Saturday. And he came. He came to my home. And whilst we were there, I didn't know how to teach. I'd never taught anyone in my life, right? And he came with his books. He sat there in front of me, and I'm there. I'm like, I have no idea how to do this. And then he's like, okay, we can do maths. And I was like, okay, cool. Maths, I know. But as I opened the book, I was like, I have no idea how to do this. So I said to him, no, let's close the books. Let's put the books away. Tell me about you. Who are you? What do you do? What are you about? Right? And it is at that moment that I actually then formed a bond with the student, because now I was taking time to understand them behind the grades, behind the academics, behind school, but to understand the person that is. And I could see that really helped him light up, because it's during those situations that he would also open up and talk about some of the challenges that he's gone through and everything. And these are the challenges that would be inhibiting his academic performance. So the fact that we're now talking about that and going over that is actually quite impressive. So I know he really, really enjoyed doing that with me. And ultimately, this is how Melania Calvin Educational Consultants started, but it hadn't been incorporated at that stage. So over the years, from like 2015, I'd just been a private tutor. So parents would come to me, they'd say, look, I've got my child, could you please tutor them for me? And parents would tell other parents that, no, look, you can take your child to Tamuka. The student loves the tutorials. We like Tamuka tutoring them because Tamuka seems level-headed, right? And then it was a win-win situation. And in most cases, I was actually doing those tutorials for free, because I also wanted to learn how to educate and how to teach essentially well in a manner that, in a style that I want to tutor and teach in. So over the years, from 2015 all the way to like 2021, I've just been a private tutor. And then here and there now, I'll actually do it for profit, because, and the money was quite nice. Like,
just on that little bit of pocket money on the side, I'm sure.
Precisely.
We all ate it.
And it's just like you also buying a car on the side in third year.
Just casually, eh?
Yeah. So, and then it was pretty impressive. And Losing my train of thought. Get back. Oh yeah, so 2021. So I've been tutoring all along. Yeah, 2020 hits. Right. So I usually tutored during my vacations when I'd be back home in Zimbabwe. But now I'm in Cape Town. I'm doing my master's degree, and there's COVID. Everything has now gone online. I'm like, I wonder if I can actually move over to online tutoring. I had no idea how to do that, but I remember I took my iPhone 7. It was this old, battered iPhone 7, right? Then I took it and I held it above a sheet of paper, and I wrote on the sheet of paper with a marker, and the student would be on the WhatsApp call as a video call. So they would see what's written on the paper through that iPhone 7. So essentially, that's how MCEC really started. And the student was in the UK. It was pretty interesting, a bit archaic, a bit, primitive, if you ask me. But that's how it started. Got the job done. Precisely. And then from then on, managed to buy an iPad. And then 2021, there's a parent who came to me and said, look, we're not going anywhere else. We want you to teach our students for maths, physics, and chemistry. Because I was only teaching maths. Because I can only teach maths. And I was like, I can't do physics and chemistry. She's like, I don't care. Make a plan. Find a way for you to be able to teach math, physics and chemistry. And I had to hire 2 incredible students that I had also met here at UCT, Tinashe and Kumbi. And they're the ones who started teaching physics and chemistry. And then we got them an iPad and a pencil. And they started teaching. And that's when MCEC really began as a business. So we're actually reaching about our 4th year anniversary, like in May of 2025. So it's only been 4 years running. Yeah.
That's crazy because I can see how much it's already expanded. And that was one of the questions I was actually going to ask you is like, how long has it actually been going? Because from what I can see now, it's so well established and you've really done a great job building up. I thought it was just around for much longer than that. So it's incredible that you managed to build that within just 4 years. So it's really cool. So you would reckon that the turning point was when you, when that one sole parent came to you and just said, look, I need you to teach all of these subjects. And you're like, hey, this is actually, we can turn this into a business model. And then from there, did you just start employing more and more people and really, seeing the value of it and how you could help students out, not only getting other students to help other students out, but you can also mentor those people who you're employing. Is that how it all came about?
So, interesting enough, my mentor had been telling me that I should expand. It was like, you're one person, you've got 24 hours in a day. But for you to have a wider reach, multiply that one person by the 24 hours, or multiply the one person with 2 or 3 more people, or 4 to 5 to 6 to 10 people. And then you've got 240 hours in a day where you can actually teach a lot more people.
Yeah.
And when he was telling me this, I did not believe him. And I didn't believe that I had the capacity to run a business like that. I did not believe that someone like me could actually do something like that, right? So I just pushed his ideas and opinions aside. I was like, nah, this guy, I don't know what he's talking about. He just thinks too highly of me. I don't know why he thinks I'm this good, right? But it came with this parent, because the way this parent spoke to me, there were no negotiations. There was no way out. And she's like, you are doing this regardless of how you feel about it. So sometimes in life, opportunities actually come. The best opportunities are ones where you've literally got no other option, opportunity for you to run away from it. So it was at that moment when it actually started and dawned on me that, look, I need to get other people on board because they can do the job better than I can do it. And after that, we tried, obviously continuously hiring new people. But even the hiring of people is something very intricate, right? We wanted to protect the brand. Actually, if I can touch on the brand. Okay. So you said it looks like a company that's been here for longer. That's because of the amount of work that goes behind the scenes and into branding.
There's the marketing and stuff like
that.
Yeah.
Precisely. And even beyond marketing. So like the t-shirts we wear, what color are they? What's the branding like? How big is the logo? What colors are on the logo, right? What's on our Instagram? Who's our designer? What sort of content do we push? What kind of blue do we use? I remember there's a day my executive assistant said to me, I don't think we should hire this person because I don't know if they'll understand that you've got two shades of blue that you can pick from. But my attention to detail has always been there. And that's the one thing that I really want to keep on going to drive the business, to drive the brand, so that people can actually understand and can identify with a premium brand that we are, to say these guys can deliver good quality. And it should look like a business that has been there for like 10 years with the right structures, proper branding, and something that is like consistent and something that we're proud of showing people that this is what's about. So in the hiring of people, the people are also a very essential part of the brand. If we have the wrong tutors, because at the end of the day, tutors are the client-facing personnel in the business. So I don't face clients directly. The managers don't face clients directly. Most of the admin don't even face the clients, but the tutors spend time with the clients. So we're looking at about 300 hours of tutorials a month. So tutors spend 300 hours with our clients. So we need to pick our tutors very, very meticulously, and we have to do it very well.
Because they represent your brand.
Precisely. So we can do all this that we do behind the scenes, but if the tutor in front of the student is not like conforming to what the brand should be like, then we stand to lose. So that made the hiring of tutors quite difficult, because you can't just go out there and say, everyone just come, we'll give you a job, right? You actually have to go out there, find people, go to their referees, and understand what sort of person are they, what's their personality, would you vouch for them? With what you know about MCEC, would you actually say they'll be a good fit for the business, or they wouldn't be? And then that rigorous sort of process would then lead us to sort of the right people, which also kind of hampered our growth. But I'd rather hamper the growth whilst we are delivering quality than to just explode whilst we're delivering mediocre quality to our clients. Yeah.
100% definitely get that. Would you say that mentoring aspect helps to attain that high quality of tutors? Because it's not like you're just employing somebody and letting them develop themselves and become this fantastic tutor or anything like that. You're actually part of their tutoring journey, and you're like feeding into them as a person and helping them to become a better tutor. And in doing so, they're representing your brand better as well. Do you think that plays, well, I'm sure it obviously plays hand in hand, but can you maybe elaborate on that a little bit, how that all works together?
It does. It actually does. With most of the tutors that we usually employ without even thinking about, they're people that I've also known on a personal level. Okay. When there was no pressure of trying to look good in my eyes. They were just being young students. They're just being young people. And then now they sit down with me and we're talking about all these things. And it's through those sort of conversations that I would actually realize, this person actually thinks in a very progressive manner. This person thinks out of the box, and they can explain things very well. They're a very good storyteller and all those things. And they also pay attention to detail, which is something that we really need in the business. So many of my mentees, they don't know this, but like they're actually in a very long interview process where we're trying to see, what could we, work with them on. Could they come in as an operations manager? Could they come in as an operations director, human resources manager, or anything? And even not only for MCEC, but even for other opportunities outside of MCEC. Sometimes people come to me and they say, look, we're looking for someone who can do this, or looking for people who can do this. So it actually allows me to have a look at my mentees, because those are people that I know personally, and then you can also allow them to have that opportunity. You can open that door for them a bit better than if they just walked in and asked for it. But for the mentoring, to answer your question directly, for the mentoring, it really helps because it makes me have an idea of the tutor, of the person, before we employ them, before we put them in front of our students. And it's also good to note that I do take the responsibility of the fact that we're dealing with mainly minors, people under the age of 18. We're putting somebody who's over the age of 18 with somebody who's under the age of 18. So we have to be very meticulous about who we are putting on there. So we do a lot of background checks and make sure that it's pristine. And it's much easier if the student is one of my mentees.
Yeah, 100%. I think that it's almost like you're naturally a very welcoming person from what I've known. For the viewers out there, if you don't know Tamuka, he is such a great welcoming person, always willing to have a great conversation with you, everything like that. And I think that's just naturally aided the growth of your business as well, because you've been able to have all these relations with hundreds of students and be able to see, okay, wow, there's potential here, and invest in that and grow that potential, which is something that I picked up on there. It sounds like MCEC really gives students, mentors, the opportunity, or students who are being mentored, the opportunity for growth. It's not just a place where they come in and they're just tutoring. Like, it's actually something that's going to help them further on in life. They've got a relationship with you, which is great enough to be able to learn from you and all that you've done, but it's also you're looking out for them. And I think that's something that's really cool. And to have that in life, I know I've had a few people in life do that for me, and that's mega. So it's so awesome to see that you're providing that for so many students, and that growth opportunity is there for them. So yeah, I'm sure they all greatly appreciate it.
Yeah. No, thank you. And thank you for actually recognizing that. If I can actually walk you on a lifetime journey of a student journey, MCEC, up till, let's say, they leave for university. So you join as a student. I mean, your parents call in and they say, no, my child is struggling and he doesn't want to do tutorials, but please do tutorials with them. The student comes, they actually realize, oh, we actually enjoy these tutorials. And when they're done with high school, when they graduate from high school, they've got the opportunity to actually apply to become tutors. So that's how much we actually believe in what we do for our students, to say, we're happy for you to come back and give back exactly what we gave to you to other students. So this actually does a lot of things. Number one, it creates employment. I mean, you do get some money on the side, some pocket money for yourself. Number two, it gives you a semblance of professional experience, because although it might look like a social club, because we build it like that, it should feel very free and laissez-faire, but it's actually run very structurally in the inside. So you do have professional experience where you are actually a tutor, you're responsible for certain things. There are accountabilities that you have to do. You have to sign a contract that is binding and all these things. And sometimes, in some instances, you actually get an iPad and an Apple Pencil and stuff. And beyond that, it actually also opens you up to opportunities that are beyond just tutoring. So like, I can tell you now, my operations director, operations manager, human resources manager, marketing manager, they were all tutors at some stage in the business.
They've grown up in it.
They've grown through the business, and now they're actually overlooking the business to actually see, no, maybe we should do this and not do that. Let's focus on this and not do that. So they're part of a system, they're part of an organization that actually recognizes their growth and actually appreciates the growth that they're having, and actually says, come and actually try out those new traits that you have in a fail-safe environment where it's okay to fail, right? I also make mistakes, and everyone else also make mistakes. And the current finance director was one of our students. So it's a place where you can really, really grow. And then after that, would love for them to stay in MCEC, but if they don't stay, when they fly out there, they'll be quite outstanding people. And I'm really, really proud of the fact that we're able to do that. My sister is always saying to me, you've got no idea how you're literally forming the professional out of a mere student. Somebody who's like a rough diamond, you take them in, right? And then you teach them, this is how you do it. This is what you do. This is how you are accountable for certain things. This is how you communicate. This, you can't do it. It's tough. I won't lie. It's tough, especially when you're dealing with a staff complement of like 40 staff in the business. But it's a blessing that I have to be able to deliver that sort of education at that sort of high level that 100%. Many people can actually never attain. Yeah.
Sure. That's really cool. Thanks for answering that question like that. I've lost my train of thought on that one. It had to happen. We've each had a turn to.
No, certainly.
Yeah, 100%. So we've heard quite a bit about MCEC now, and just how it came about. Actually, before I go here to this next question, I wanted to ask something you said earlier, talking about a mentor and how you learned about all these things about brand image. Walk us through that a little bit. Like, how did you gain those expertise to be able to develop a brand like this? How did you learn all that type of stuff? Or you obviously mentioned a mentor earlier. Did he or she have something to do with that? Or how did it actually come about that you learned how to create such a brand like this that's so prestigious?
Oh, thank you for those.
I mean it all.
So the branding side of me took years to build.
Okay.
I don't think I was ever this person before, but it really took years upon years to learn. So, like, attention to detail. I remember there's a time my older brother is actually more of a cousin, so he's an accountant, and there are times when we would go over to their house during the holidays, and he would wake up, he'd dress up, and as he's dressing up to go to work, you can see him. He's looking in the mirror, making sure that his shirt is properly aligned. Everything is so cool, and I used to see this when I was 8 or 9 years old. And I really adored that. I was like, this guy really pays attention to how he dresses and how he carries himself. So it's something that I also then took on to say, I should also pay attention to how I dress and how I carry myself. And then also my parents, both my parents, my mom and my dad, they were very strict about presenting yourself well. So they wouldn't allow me to walk out of the house dressed in a very shabby manner. Mr. Zoash, we never allow such, right? And
for the viewers who are wondering how I know Ms. Zoash, she was my high school maths teacher for many, many years. And when I actually came to university, that's when I met Tamuka and realized that he was actually her son, which was so, so cool. So sorry for that little sidetrack, but it's just how Tamuka and I know each other and have that extra little bit of connection. But sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, precisely. Yeah, so they would never allow me to walk out of the house looking untoward. So those first snippets were seeds that my parents planted. But then along the way, I gained this ambition to be I really want to be somebody who reaches the C-suite. I really want to rise up in companies and make changes at a very high level in companies. And I sat down and had a very honest conversation with myself. I think I was 13 or 14. And I said, if we're going to get there, the work needs to start today. You need to know how all these things work and how they run. And part of that is also you making sure that you look the part so that people can easily also say, no, let's bring Tamuka in. So along the years, the sort of TV shows that I'd watch, everyone watches Suits, but I really watched it intently because I really wanted to learn what makes this thing work and what makes this thing not work. And then after Suits, I'd watch TV shows like The Blacklist. I mean, you really get to learn about Red, and you can see the charisma, the way he carries himself, the confidence and everything. I was like, this is what you need. And then when I left high school, well, in the later parts of high school, when I was a prefect and a leader, now it was my job to actually overlook others to say, are we representing the St. George's brand well? Is the uniform the right way? Are you dressed properly? Are your manners in check and everything? So all that's still branding, because there I was branding for my school as a prefect. Even in my classroom, my students knew that Mr. Keche wouldn't punish us. But I told them, this is what I want from you guys. I want your socks to always have gutters. I want them to always be up. I wanted you to look good. Your blazer should be washed, everything. Your shoes should be polished, everything. So I was doing the branding for the school. And then I come to university now. I had a bit more free time. So I really went on again, watched podcasts, a lot of podcasts like yourself, like this one.
Also doing.
Exactly. And really began to realize that, okay, why is it that we want to buy Apple, which is as expensive as Apple is, and not buy something that is not as expensive? Why do we choose that? Why do we choose the expensive stuff? But then you then follow it and you realize that it's also how they've branded themselves. Their website is crisp, it's clean, their devices, the way they work, it's just good, the quality is great. So the whole branding thing is something that took time for me to understand. And even when MCEC started 4 years ago, I'm still learning to this day to say, maybe the brand here maybe what we're doing here does not really conform to what the brand needs. Maybe let's change this and let's change that. So again, we did think of MCC as a baby. And as you're trying to raise them, right, sometimes you try certain things and you realize, oh no, maybe they don't like soccer, maybe they like rugby, And now this baby is 4 years old, they can walk, they can talk, they've got a personality of themselves. So now you also have to understand what they need and what you are willing to give and what is also available resources-wise. So it has taken a lot of time, and I would always encourage any young person to actually spend time in understanding their own personal brand. Who are they? When people hear your name, what do they think of? When people see your face, what do they think of? When you get to a place, what do people feel? What do they think of, like when they see you? Because that personal brand is sometimes the thing that carries you to professional help, professional success, and even personal success. Right?
Yeah, 100%.
So all these years, I actually just spent a lot of time learning about branding. And not only branding, I remember at some stage I was even watching a lot of videos about music to understand, how do you know that this is reggae? How do you know that this is amapiano? How do you know that this is jazz? Understanding also how things work. So after the branding, the foundation is the understanding of how things work. How does an economy work? How does business work? And all these things, how do they work? And then after that, you encompass them in a brand, and then you take that brand and then you give it to people. And then people now come into the brand, come into the organization, and they get value from all these things that you've built. So to answer your question, it's been a very long journey of learning. And I'm actually talking learning that has absolutely nothing to do with engineering or maths or physics. It's just this side of finance, business, economics, and even psychology also. Yeah.
So what I'm hearing is it's so important just to be focused for the uni student viewers, to be focused on your degree, but also to develop yourself as a whole, and not just for myself, I'm studying engineering, but not just focus on engineering, but develop all those other skills that are going to be able to carry you further in the world. Would you say that that's equally as important in university?
I would even say it's even more important than actually getting your degree itself. Your degree, we're going to assume that you're going to get that already, right? Let's assume that you're going to get that already, but after you have that degree, what kind of person are you going to become? And university could even be too late, Tyler.
Sure.
I actually think you should start in high school. You should start, especially the moment you start having your independent thoughts. That's your 13, 14, 15 sort of ages. You should start realizing how things actually work. How does a business function? What is revenue? What is cost? What is profit? What makes this work? What makes that not work? And at MCC, we've actually realized that it's just as important for students to know that as it is for them to know how to integrate or how to label an insect. So what we actually do is we also organize workshops at MCEC where former students or professionals in the real world come back and they sit down with the students and they actually train the students. They talk to the students and tell them about their journey, how they've gotten to where they've gotten to, and what was required for them to get to that stage. And in some of those workshops, I also have what are called business case studies, where students would actually come online. Most of the students that I was tutoring maths, physics, and chemistry would sit down, and I'd give them a business proposal sort of thing, or business task to say, you've got $500, go out there, sit with your team, think about how you can actually start a business with this $500 and actually grow it to 5 times. So it's 2.5 in 5 months. And the students would go away in their teams of 4, 5, 6, and they would actually think about it. And when it was time for them to present or bring more people, just so that you can also simulate a business pitching sort of event type thing for them. Because that would also help them know how to articulate their ideas, especially in a room full of people, and also work as a team, because they're a team of 4 to 5 to 6 people, and whilst learning very core and necessary principles about the world and how everything works. So that's also one of the other benefits from MCEC that you will never get from any other tutoring organization, any other extra lessons teacher, is the fact that we understand what students also need beyond just academics. They need to know business, finance, economics, and they also need to discover themselves. Are they shy to speak in public, or are they a good public speaker? Are they a leader? Are they somebody who would rather be led by someone else, and then they're like a second in charge? Do they like economics? Do they like business? Do they like corporate finance? What do they like? Do they like law? Do they like to argue? Do they like to just sit at the back and just formulate ideas and stuff like that? So at Melania Calvin, like how I said in the beginning, it's very difficult to market these sort of things, but we actually do a lot of workshops that do those things. And we also know that mental health is also a very important aspect for our students, something that we actually never, well, they don't, a lot of people don't pay attention to, but it's actually a factor in people's lives. So yeah, it's some of those things that I understand and I believe, but also know that I also have a role to ensure that we create policies in MCEC that will allow us to actually encompass those things and push them forward and make sure that our students are equipped with these things as they go into the real world. Yeah.
I just think that's so beautiful because it's, like I mentioned before, it's not only allowing students to feed into other students' lives by tutoring them, but they are actually getting so much from it themselves where they're able to develop as a human being. It's like a constant chain where you're feeding into them, they feed into other students, and it's just working so perfectly in full cycle. And I think that's really, like you say, it's what sets MCEC apart from other tutoring companies because, just being at university, you just see the sheer number of posters and everything like that about looking for tutors or tutoring available here, then everywhere. I know I've got multitudes of friends who are involved in various different types of tutoring companies, but none of them, genuinely speaking, are anything like MCEC because they just there to help other students and then just get paid for it. But there's nothing coming down from the top from the tutoring company to feed into them or anything like that. Yeah, like sure, they might have a pizza night once a month or something like that and just input a little bit here and then just say thanks guys for all you're doing, like you're really helping grow the business and stuff like that. But I don't think there's that personal level of interaction with the tutors on their side. But genuinely speaking, just from what I've seen about MCEC, what I've heard right now, all the different things you've got going on, that's exactly what you're doing. You're having that personal aspect involved in the business and you want to see your tutors grow up, which is so cool because I feel like that's lacking from others. And so it's not like you're just, I was going to use the word extrapolating, but that's so not the correct word. But it's not like you're just trying to suck out all these resources from students and pay them a little bit here just to make them happy. But it's actually such a cool opportunity for the students to grow as well. And that's something so beautiful to see. So yeah, that's really cool. And they appreciate that a lot, I'm sure. So let's move on to one question that I had in my mind for quite a while. And I was like, obviously we've heard about MCEC and how it's done so well, but I'm sure along the lines there's been some learning curves and stuff like that. And so maybe if you could allude to your biggest mistake, if there was one, and perhaps what you learned from it. I don't know if there was anything like that, or if it's just been absolutely plain sailing, which would be fantastic. But if not,
that would be a fairy tale. Or a unicorn, actually, something that doesn't exist. So, funny enough, we've actually made a lot of bad mistakes. Like
I would have never thought.
A lot of big mistakes. And to be quite honest, maybe I'm making one. Maybe I made one yesterday, and maybe I'll make another one tomorrow. Right? So, it's one thing that I've actually learned is you're going to make mistakes regardless, right? But then from a mistake, you don't fail. From a mistake, you learn. Mm-hmm. So the biggest mistake that I can actually say is, and I would put my hand up and really own this and say, I think at times I don't believe in myself enough to be able to lead this organization to that sort of next level where, it can take over like a good 10% of market share in, like, let's say, sub-Saharan Africa. And that's something that, you begin to realize in the sort of position that I'm in as a business leader, as an entrepreneur, as a CEO, where you realize that your own limitations or your own fears could actually impact the organization severely. So that's one of the mistakes. And I'm sure I repeatedly make this, where I sometimes second guess myself. Yet everyone around me is saying, you can do this. And then I'm like, maybe I'm not equipped yet. But as you can see, this is a recurring big mistake because from the very beginning, my mentor said, grow the business. He spent a year saying, grow the business. And it's only a year later that I grew the business to 2 people. And only then I'm like, why did I do this earlier? You understand? And I'm sure in the future, I'm also going to be like, maybe I should have grown it. When I was telling Tyler that I should have grown the business, I would have grown it the next day. Potentially I'm going to feel like that. But that's one of the biggest mistakes. Another mistake, I wouldn't really call them mistakes. I would call them learning curves. Because much like you and much like you,
I'm sure whatever's coming, you can include yourself in it, because I don't know if it's going to be a compliment or what it is, but I don't want to be the ball.
Okay. I'm going to fine.
Both of us.
Okay. The both of us, we're engineers.
Here we go, yes.
We sit in a class, all we know, not all we know, but like our strongest strengths, our strengths are actually the understanding of forces. So we know that, this force, it's statically in equilibrium, it's not moving, so if net is equal to 0 and everything, that's what we know and that's what we relish in. And we know the maths, how to quantify something mathematically, a free body diagram, and is it going to deform, all that stuff. We really, really pride ourselves in knowing those things. But a business does not care if you can differentiate or not. Excel can differentiate for you if you really want it. The calculator can differentiate for you if you really want it. But it's the learning of the business principles that as engineers sometimes we don't have. And in the beginning, as MCC was starting, it was actually my school where I was going to learn. I was learning about business. So it's different learning business about business in class whilst learning about business in the business whilst it's running live. So it's like you're building a ship whilst you're at sea, right? It's difficult because you're like, okay, I have to build this thing because we can't drown. We can't sink. So along the way, there are things that we could have done differently. But had we done those things differently, I wouldn't have learned the things that I've learned today. So you find yourself in a situation whereby at this sort of stage, any of my managers or any of my directors can call me with a problem to say, we're faced with this problem. What do you think we should do? It's quite easy for me to actually just sit back and say, maybe let's do this. Because my other mentor would say, I've paid my school fees in actually learning about how businesses work and the difficulties that can actually arise from a business and how to remedy them. So as an entrepreneur, and to any of the students or anyone else who's watching and listening to this, I'd actually want them to know that you actually never make mistakes. It's actually all a series of lessons that you're learning. Some lessons are very nice, right? Sometimes you can learn that, if I'm a very good tutor, I'll get more students and get more money. That's a very nice lesson, right? But then another very bad lesson is if you don't manage your finances properly, you lose money. And when you lose money, you're in a very tight fix. That's a very tough lesson. So a lot of mistakes just are tough lessons, but it's a lesson that I've actually learned from and I've gained a lot of knowledge from, and I actually move and push towards others, especially some of my managers that are also working to say, I made this mistake. This is how I remedied it. You come into the business, make your own mistakes and learn from them as well. But yeah, along the way, I've met very, very incredible young people. And it's been an absolute honor to work with them. Here and there, I do wish I could have been a bit more decisive in maybe pulling someone out of the business if they were not quite aligned with what we were doing.
The hardest things to do.
Precisely. Because sometimes you then look at it and say, this brand, the impact that it has on people's lives should not be dragged along by, certain one or two people that could have easily dragged it back. So it's one of those situations that I wish in the future I'll be a bit more proactive about it. Yeah. But again, it goes against the sort of way I think about everything, because I like to give people benefit of the doubt and also to give people second chances. So sometimes you sit there, you're like, maybe they can recover from this. Let's try and see. But again, like I said, it's something that I've learned from and I'll continuously learn from it. But yeah, I think the mistake spot, yeah.
Yeah, I guess literally how you wrap that up is perfect, because it's something that's happened, but it's not a complete failure. It's just something that you've learned from, and now you're not going to do it again. You're going to, as long as you're proactive and you change that going forward, it's going to be beneficial for the business. And there's a quote by some guy, I think it was one of those old guys who invented the light bulb, or Albert Einstein, or one of those chaps. And he basically said, like, when asked if he had failed at what he was trying to do, he said, "No, I haven't failed, but I've just found 3,000 ways that don't work."
Yes.
So he hasn't failed at all. He's just found multitudes of ways that aren't working for him. And I think that's such a good way to look at it, because it's just like, you're not going to call it quits. You're just going to keep going. And now you know that doesn't work. So let me try a different aspect. And I think that's what you've employed in the business. And it's just like that process of continual growth and reiteration and stuff like that. You're constantly going through, see what works, what doesn't. And it's just, I think that's definitely a solid business model. For me, who knows a little about business, I would agree that I think that's something that's really great to do. So yeah, thanks for sharing those with us. And obviously, those are your maybe mistakes or so-called failures, which aren't failures; they're just learning curves. And maybe give us your biggest win so far. Let us know what that is.
There've been a lot of big wins.
Oh, that's awesome.
It's very interesting that the degree of a win is actually inversely proportional. You can hear the engineering coming.
Yes, 100% formulas here.
It's inversely proportional to the visibility of the win. So the bigger the win, the less visible it is, or to other people.
Yes.
I can see the win, but other people may not see the win. So the smaller the win, as long as it's still a win, the more visible it is to a lot of people. So some of the greatest wins that MCEC has achieved is a complete turnaround in the fortunes of a student. So I've sat down in a lot of tutorials with my students, and you really speak to a student who's really going through a very tough time. And you vow to say, look, I'm going to walk the journey with you. I'm going to be there, and we're going to be working in tandem for the academics and your person as a person. These things have to work in tandem, and I'll be there to bridge that gap. I'll be there academically, and I'll also be there for you as a person. And when you see a student on the verge of giving up, who literally everyone else has written off, and then you stand by them, you burn the midnight candle, and you say, listen, we're going to get this right. And then they get it right. And you watch them flying, and you watch them doing the biggest things in the world. It's absolutely amazing. No one will ever know. No one. I can try to sit down here and explain what happened and everything, but it's unfortunate that it's only me, myself, and that student who know exactly what happened. And this didn't happen with just one student. It's happened with many students. And I think this is what actually helps me, keeps me motivated, and always drives me forward. Sometimes I've faced a lot of students that, were bullied a lot in high school. And even during the bullying, I stick by them, I stand by them, and you reaffirm them, make them realize their potential and what they're capable of doing. And now I see them in university flying and everything. It's so fulfilling. It's out of this world. And at the University of Cape Town, we do run some pro bono classes, some free classes that we have for students that usually come from underprivileged backgrounds. Because as MCEC is a premium brand, with the school we went to, right? We were taught from a very young age, from grade 8, from Form 1, that you have to be there for other people. Life is not just about you by yourself. You have to be there for other people. And I realized that I do have this organization that does help people for profit. But then there's some people who could actually also need the help but can't afford it. And we've opened that channel up to say, we can give our brand, and we don't care where you come from. We don't care if you can't afford. As long as you've got the passion for yourself and want to do better, you can come on in, and then we'll teach you maths, physics, life skills, branding also, and all these other things. And it's an absolutely amazing feeling watching some of those students, just reach greater heights. You can see they're right on the path of becoming the best version of themselves, and they're believing in themselves. Even back home is in support of them. You are supporting them. It's just amazing all around. And for me, it's something that is so fulfilling. And I've always told people that money is exciting, but like when you really genuinely help someone from wherever they were to where they are now, that is just pure joy and happiness.
That's where the reward is.
Precisely. And sometimes, like I said, the bigger the win, the less the visibility. Sometimes there's literally a student who just feels lost, and you give them a place of belonging. You give them a place where you can say, listen, you belong to MCEC. There's an MCEC hoodie, there's an MCEC t-shirt. You're one of us. You're here. Many of us can never actually realize how crucial that is for anyone's survival. Even for animals, animals that walk around in herds, right? If you don't have a place where you belong, it's very difficult for even to survive. And just like with human beings, if you don't have a place that, cares for you and says, you're one of us, you were here, it's detrimental to one's mental health and everything. And just actually having a platform where those students can come and say, listen, we're from MCEC. That's like a very big win for MCEC. And it's something that we appreciate greatly. And then some of the other wins that people do see are when a student comes into the organization, maybe not doing so well or even doing well, and then you take them to the next level, and then you build that confidence, and then you see them again going to the even further levels. It's absolutely amazing. And, just being a bearer of hope to people, bringing hope and hopes for a brighter day and the faith back into people to say, listen, yeah, I thought my academics were shaky, but yeah, these guys are really bringing it back. Look, that's a big win. That's a big win. Financially, I know a lot of people would think, it's all about finances and everything. Financially, one thing that I've also just realized is as long as you work hard, you will always have cash flow, right? But then we just need to couple that hard work with actually making a difference.
Yeah.
And watching most of my mentees literally flourish, going out there into the real world, doing big things, getting into leadership positions, being fearless, or even being fearful at times, but still acting even when they are fearful. It's absolutely heartwarming. And for MCEC, it's absolutely amazing. And the other big win that I've always seen is when some older students that I mentor, students of MCEC, coming back and also helping the younger ones and actually formulating bonds and having their own sort of understanding amongst themselves. That is priceless. To really see that you're connecting two people that would have otherwise never met, but then they're meeting and they're actually feeding off each other and they're helping each other grow. That is absolutely amazing. And honestly, Tyler, many more other wins. And it's one of those things that make me wake up and say, I'm going to do this again. We're going another day. We're going to keep on pushing and pushing. Yeah.
That's awesome to hear because it literally sounds like it's not. My question was, what's the biggest win? And it literally, I can see there's so many big wins. It's not just one. And that's so beautiful to see that every day. It's just, obviously with working with people, there's so much progression that can happen. I think those big wins just come about when you see that progression as human beings. And I love the way that you called them mentees earlier rather than your tutors. Because I just think that shows the personal relationship that's just naturally flowing from your heart, that you see them as mentees rather than just people working for you. You're actually feeding into them. And I think that's so beautiful. You actually answered my second question, or my follow-up question, I think, was going to be, has there ever been a moment where it's like, wow, this is why I started the business? But I think you can still answer, but I'm sure all of those moments were like, wow, this is why I do this. This is why I wake up every day and keep the business going and everything like that, because I'm able to make a difference. So would you agree that that's exactly it?
Well, certainly. And I remember this other time. So actually the mentees part. So a bunch of the tutors are my mentees, but there's also a separate group of mentees that become mentees because they're MCEC students and also because they're part of the pro bono class. So so it's actually quite a big group of people.
I can imagine.
But like they all fall under the MCEC sort of brand because, like I said, we're a tutoring and mentoring platform. So even within the tutors that we have, we do have some people that are literally just mentors. They're literally just there to be mentors, and they're helping the organization mentor the students and all that jazz. So yeah, but your question again? I lost your question, but basically
it was basically along the lines of every day. My thing was there one moment that has made you go, wow, this is why I started this? But I think it was just when checking that every day you wake up and you're like, wow, that person's life changed, and this is why I do it.
Yeah. So first of all, from the parent's perspective, actually, let me tell you a story. There's one time a parent called me, results came out, and on results day, I heard the results that the student had gotten. I wasn't too happy with the results because I was like, I know you can do better. And then a few moments later, the parent calls me and she's ululating, she's shouting on top of her voice. She's like, Mr. Keche, thank you so much. Like, you've got no idea. You've literally helped me even parenting this child out of high school. Thank you so much. I'm so happy. And I was stunned. I was like, wait, again, is this a prank? And no, she was actually being legit and serious to say, I'm so glad that this, my son did this well. But he didn't even do that well because I wanted him to do much better than this. But then I sat there and I realized maybe we don't realize just how much of an impact we're having. Because the student is happy, the parent is happy, but I'm the only one who's unhappy. But the impact is on the student. That's why they were brought to us in the first place, to make sure that, the outcomes that come out of that student, everyone around that student recognizes that, look, this went well and this is a good result for a student. So from parents, the testimonials that I get from parents, and it's actually quite interesting and funny because there's some parents that I really, really look up to. Like, I could do anything to sit down, just have coffee with them and ask them all these questions, just like how you'd also want to do that with your friend's dad, right? I'd also want to do that, right? But then that same parent is coming to me and saying, thank you so much. You've made such a difference in my child's life. I'm like, really? I look up to you and you're saying thank you to me, I literally sit there and I don't even know how to feel. I'm like, okay, should I smile? Should I say thank you? Or should I,
I can imagine.
Yeah, precisely. And then we move away from that. We go to the students themselves. They come back and they tell you, like, Mr. Keche, you've got no idea what those workshops did for us. You've got no idea how much what you taught us that day actually mattered and what it means to everyone and what it means to my lifestyle and what I'm doing currently in my life. You've got no idea the amount of confidence that you've given me and everything. So yeah, it's impressive. And then from the students' friends, you can see sometimes many of them actually want to join MCEC. But sometimes, the parents might say, no, they might be like, the fees are a bit too much for us or anything. But you can see that the friends actually understand the value that MCEC can deliver. It's just, circumstances just prevent them from actually joining us. So when you see all these things happening, you really sit down and say, this is why I do this. Yeah.
So awesome to hear that you got those constant moments that just remind you why you're doing it and just keeps you going. And I think that's so important to have in a business. It's like the rewarding aspect. If you're just making money out of it and that's all you're in there for, obviously you would only find reward from that. But it's so awesome that you can see the reward from changing people's lives and the impact that it's having. And yeah, it's really, really beautiful to see. I'd love to hear it, Tamuka. I think this is an awesome opportunity for us to maybe take a break and pick up in the next section because I think we're running out of time a little bit. But it's been fantastic chatting to you, Tamuka. And I appreciate all that you shared with me, and we'll definitely pick it up in the next one.
All right. No, and thank you so much, Tyler, for actually availing yourself and spending time with me and sitting down and asking all these questions. I know neither of us have ever done this before, so this is our first time doing a podcast. And also thank you to Andile behind the scenes, who's actually making everything work. And Yeah, no, really, really appreciate it. I'm so glad to be sharing the journey, and I hope it really inspires someone out there to try, to just try.
Exactly. I'm sure it will. I've got no doubt that your influence will impact a lot of people's lives. So thank you once again.
Oh, thank you, Tyler.
Cool.
Cheers.